Hey, what's up, everyone? Welcome to another episode of Coach's Corner. We have some special guests, actually returning guests, Snorely, and then we have new guest for Coach's Corner is going to be Gluto. How you guys doing? I'm really excited to get into this episode. And before we get started, though, right before we get started, make sure to like and subscribe if you guys do enjoy the content. Also, leave a comment below. We're going to be discussing a lot of things like the European scene and Wario in the current meta. So if you guys have any questions about those current topics, just make sure to leave a comment on them below. And of course, if you guys want to ask us any questions, you can go ahead and subscribe to our Discord and we'll answer any of those questions on the episode. So it's just a way you can support us. So Gluto, Snorely, how you guys doing? We'll start with Gluto.
Doing good, and you?
I'm doing great, man. Congrats on the win. You got the W in home turf, right? So that's always good to see.
Yeah, always good to see. Very happy of how I played, especially in top 8, and very happy about how France and Europe played too. So that was a great win for everyone.
And how you doing, Snorely?
I'm doing good. I'm doing great. I hope everybody's doing well, and I'm always happy to talk Wario stuff and
Talk about Wario, baby.
Yeah.
So Ramses, how you doing, man?
Doing well. Came home from UFA. My voice is still a little bit damaged, but we're gonna be managing for today.
You killed it, man. Good stuff on the mic.
Thank you. Appreciate it. We're some good blocks for sure.
Tony?
Ramses is always one of my favorite to hear on the mic in general, and especially in Europe. So
thank you.
Fortunately, some of us did not have to do any form of traveling or any particular strain for UFA. So nice parts of coaching from the couch is I'm fully recovered.
You still work the event.
Oh yeah, I clocked in. I was there.
Yeah, it looked like a great event and a great W for Gluto. And man, I gotta say, how do you feel like the bracket was for you? And I guess how strong do you think Wario is? I know you've been a believer of Wario, even when it was not a good thing to believe in Wario, but in this game, it's a good thing to believe in Wario, right? So, how do you? You've probably heard this question so many times, but how do you feel like Wario can scrap in this meta?
So first about the bracket, I guess I was fine at the beginning. Like the bracket I was supposed to have was supposed to be kind of hard because I was supposed to have T and I had supposed to maybe have Rarcure too, and this is two matchup that I struggle with. But finally, I just had to play Bass Mage, which is not easy at all either. Even if I know what to do, it's always hard to do it well, and it's always very risky, especially when he kills me before I kill him. So that's very weird as a Wario buff matchup. Like I kill him every time I 160. I don't know why. And then sometimes he killed me at 20. It was kind of weird and hard, but other than that, I had like Nero's before, but this time Nero's as Pikachu was playing kind of like Shiny Mark. So he was camping, but camping very well. And first game, he even two-stock me with a timeout, which means everything. That means he did what he needed to do, and he did it well. And that's the first time it ever happened. So I was very proud of him. After I adapted the way he camped, because he kind of camped the same way. But at least it was something different, so that's good. And then I was supposed to play maybe Flo or Rarcure. And of course, Rarcure is very good and Sora is very, very hard. So it would have been very hard for me. And then I was supposed to play T, which would be hard too. But Siski helped me again, and he beat T. Yeah, I think everyone worked for me at this tournament. So it was easier in an easier bracket that it should have been, and then I just beat Flo and Siski in top 8. So yeah, it was a good tournament, and I'm kind of disappointed to not play some people that I wanted to play, like Leo, Raflo, or T, but they lost before, so I just had to beat the one who beat them.
Hey man, they gotta get to you, man. And the fact that they didn't get to you and you were on home turf, I think that says a lot about your region. Like that's really
exactly
cool, man. That's really sick.
Like imagine telling to French people that like 2 years ago, imagine telling them that in 2 years at UFA, Leo will be double eliminated by 2 French that are not me.
Yeah.
Exceptional.
God, that's crazy.
It's crazy.
That
Mhm.
I'm very, very, very happy about it. Because every time there's big names, usually they come to the top, or I have to beat them, otherwise they will not lose. But this time I did nothing. Nothing. T got beat by Siski. MKLeo get beaten by 2 French. So that's very, very nice. And that shows that we got so much better. I think our top level got so much better. Even if I think mid level is kind of not that good and high too, but at the top, we are so good. I think personally, I think that Raflo is top 5. Yeah, kind of top 5 best fundis, let's say, like only Smash Bros players in the world.
Yeah.
Skill wise. Because of course he doesn't know all the matchups. Of course, sometimes it will be hard against a lot of people. Of course, he doesn't have that much experience. But the way he plays, the way he adapt, the way he change, the way he mix up, the way he understands situation is definitely one of the best in the world. So I'm really proud of him. About Wario, yeah, Wario is still hard.
Still
Nothing
hard.
changed. Nothing changed. It's very hard, but there is hope, and the hope has a name, and the name is Bike. As always, like I think that it's the same hope since like 1 or 2 years, like the time that when we discovered how good Bike is and how it can carry so much on in all the difficult matchup or impossible matchups. And yeah, I think the only real hope for Wario is Bike, because I think any other stuff are not good enough to be very relevant in the meta because of the inconsistencies, because of the too much hard work to find them, and inconsistent. That's not possible. Like imagine you struggle to find your strong moves. You will sacrifice a lot because you will not be able to win this rank that much. And the only time you do it, it doesn't work, and you get reverse for it. No, this is impossible to play. So Bike is here to make things more consistent and to force some pure interaction. Because the inconsistencies, they only work. They are only before tumble. Before tumble percent. So between 0 and 40, this is the part where I get reversed the most by winning neutral. So if I focus on playing differently at those percent, maybe use Bike to win pure RPS, and then at higher percent when they're stumbled, I can nair on place and they will do tech chase and stuff. And this is the situation where if I get reversed, it's my bad for real, and it's only on me. So the Bike will help for everything, and in some matchup it's still very hard because Bike is not usable that in the same easy ways in every matchups. Sometimes it's even more risky for me to put out the Bike than for the opponent. And it always have risk anyways, because my opponent can use it too. I don't have Bike to recover. So everything comes with a risk. Nothing is free. But at least I can think, and I can, when it's really, or I lose the situation or I win. I literally hate when I win, but I lose. It's horrible. The feeling is horrible, especially at top level, where it's very hard to win. And if sometimes you win but you lose, that's not the definition of a good character. That's a trash character.
I remember
And
it used to be that way in Brawl even. I don't know if you remember.
Yeah.
Do you remember Chair, Gluto?
Another Wario.
Yeah, Dutch Wario player Chair.
Yeah.
He would always get super angry because in Brawl was the same, where sometimes like a lot of things in Brawl were minus on hits for every character, but
Mhm.
especially Wario had
Yeah.
a really bad time. Yeah.
That's very, very trash. And I remember, I think Snorely told me that. He said that one day, Tweak was playing Wario, and it was a time where he was not sure about the character. And he said that he did an air, he didn't connect, he got 0 to deaths because of it, and then he never took Wario again. But he's right. He's right. Why would you continue to play a character that will kill you by being right? It's almost like you're playing against Shulk in every matchup, because Shulk will do this sometimes. You're right, but you're wrong. Oh, you did a multi-hit. okay, he's gonna be yellow and then kill you for it. So it doesn't happen that much, and you have to be precise as Shulk and stuff. But Wario will auto do this for you. Don't worry. So that's kind of sus. But Bike is here to prevent this, and there is other ways to prevent this, but it's very hard. And sometimes in some matchups, it's still very, very hard because it will still happen. And even if I do my best to make it not happening, it still happens sometimes, and it's very frustrating. And also, yeah, the lack of range is very hard in some matchups. The fact that he's very slow on the ground is very annoying in a lot of matchups. The fact that a lot of things are situational. Even the combos are hard. A pair waft can be free sometimes or very hard sometimes. Same for up tilt waft. It depends on the matchups. It's the same things. It's like, okay, sometimes it could be easy to have the upper waft, but having the upper is impossible. How can you have a upper landing against Game & Watch? When? Which Game & Watch will stay on the top of you without a hitbox? No one. It will never happen. Or maybe bad Game & Watch.
I'll have you know, when I used to watch Twink VODs, I saw Twink land a falling up air on a spot dodge in Pikachu before. That was like the craziest thing I've ever seen because you know Pikachu like goes down and then he caught
Yeah.
it like, and
Yeah.
I was just like, how did you even land that? Like,
Yeah,
so,
but how
but it's
many
like
times
it's
did you see
damn
it?
near impossible. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
like unicorn level, like
Exact.
fantasy stuff.
You saw it once. It's like the Loch Ness.
Yeah,
You
that was
never
it.
It's
Yeah.
like the Loch Ness.
Yeah.
So
So
Not even
that's what
sure if it was
makes
actually
hard.
landing up there.
in matchups
Maybe
where
not.
Wario can't quite keep up just because he's so slow on the grounds, like say versus Sheik, or even characters like Palu, where she gets to attack and then go away. How do you deal with that as Wario when you're on the ground?
It's something I think I still can do better, but the thing I do is like making things get more slow and understanding what implies the situation. So for example, okay, it's hard to pressure them because if they hit my shield, they are still safe, but it will imply that they will dash back after hitting my shield. And if I do little by little, I will pressure their corner them, and then they will have to come. Or maybe I can like jump over them there when they think I'm gonna stay grounded to mix up. And even if I don't win the situation by doing that, it will force a different situation. It could be a situation that could be in my favor, but if it's not, I will just do nothing. But things take a lot of time, and I need to not be afraid to just do nothing. Okay, I parry once, I can't do anything. Sorry.
Take your
I
camera.
parry twice, I can't do anything. Maybe the third time I will be able to punish. As the supposed best character of Auto Shield, not being able to punish Auto Shield things even on parry is kind of sus. But you have to deal with it.
Yeah, and I think.
The one good thing
go ahead, Snorely.
I was gonna say the one good thing at least Wario has on his side is that time is always like in his favor. So when you play these characters, you know, where you might have to hold shield an extra 2 or 3 hits, you don't mind because you're charging off anyway. So like even if those people will try to play the safest possible, once you get off, whether they want to approach or not, their mentality change because now they start thinking that they might die at like 0. Even though sometimes you can even land it against some characters, just the sheer threat of it alone will have them change the way they play, or they'll pick very glaring or obvious like defensive habits, whether it's like double jumping towards the center because they're scared when they're at ledge of getting there or rolling in and stuff like that. So like I usually try to tell them when it comes to these characters, try not to shield too much because a lot of these characters that are super safe on shield, like again, it's on shield, so try to move out of the way, like you know the cloud, the sheiks. Why take a back air on shield when you could just take it on whiff and wait for the next option or either stuff that out? And then the other thing, I usually tell them to limit their stage control because a lot of the times they have to fully space said aerials, or they'll get Wario up behind the shield, which is thank God is frame 6. Um, So like it's like a small order of like essentially limiting stage control, learning those those small habits between like the small defensive habits while using time to your advantage because with more time you have more information and Gluto's one of the best adapters I think in the game. So all that falls together to help him consistently beat those people, right? Those matchups that are supposedly super annoying and hard for Wario.
I think this is my observation. Tell me if I'm wrong, but I think a lot of his harder matchups also have ways to become stronger over time. Think about something like a Steve that can mine, or an Olimar that can cycle Pikmin and get like the purples.
Mm-hmm.
How is that like dynamic where you get stronger over a longer period of time, but over these shorter periods of time they get more strong than you do? Do you see what I mean?
Yeah. So about Steve, the more I play the matchup, the more I feel that it's maybe a fake stronger in the sense that if he doesn't have a diamond, what is he gonna do if I'm at 0? He's gonna do up tilt, and I'm gonna have 60 or 70. If he has diamond, I'm gonna have maybe 80. But it's still a lot, but it's not that much different. So it's better for me to not try to force interaction, because of me forcing interaction, I can lose way more time neutral than if I try to not force interaction, and then I will not get touch at all, and then I can hit him little by little. Because I think Steve is very, very, very bad at approaching. The only
Yeah.
approach he has is side B, and it's not a real approach, but it's like kind of a test. It's like,
Yeah.
okay, the Steve is gonna run and only up tilt. Are you good enough to beat this? Or you know he's gonna do it, and you know he's gonna side B. Are you good enough to not get hit by side B? So it's not real approach, but it's more like test. And if you pass the test, then it's very hard for him to approach.
Well, if you pass the
And
test, you got to do more tests because then you hit Steve, and then you have to take the anvil and another minecart test. You never know which
Yes.
one's coming.
Yeah.
So there's 2 other tests that
Yes.
come up.
It's a whole
It's a lot
curriculum.
of
It's a whole
tests.
curriculum.
A lot of tests.
Yeah, that's typical the type of character that I call now Dark Souls Ultimate characters. It's not Smash Ultimate. It's Dark Souls. You know he's gonna do it. You know.
I call them Mega Man bosses, but it's the same thing.
I
Mega Man
told him
Dark
the Dark
Souls.
Souls.
Mega Man.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know he's gonna do it 10 times in a row. He knows.
Mhm.
You know. Then it's just like
Just
a boss.
Execute.
It's a Dark Souls
correct.
boss. Yes. Only
Mhm.
execution. It's not about Smash, Fundis, positioning, read. Nah. It's just Dark Souls. So are you good enough to deal with this? And of course, are you good enough to force him into situation where you have to actually play the game and recognize them and play there, specifically there? And are you good enough to recognize when it's not your turn to play and you have to more dodge everything? So it's very hard. But yeah, the matchups where they get stronger with time than me is kind of hard, especially like Steve Olimar. Even Hero, I discovered that the matchup can be very, very weird and annoying because he comes to a corner, he charges himself. I am so slow to pressure him, and it's hard to pressure him. And he does a random um, spells, but it's very hard to approach. I don't know what to do, to be honest. But I think in general, the gameplay will still be the same as the other type of matchup. Will be to pressure them, to force them to do what I'm strong at, and it's punish their approach. So Wario is good at punishing approaches, and he's good at that's it. If people don't approach him, it's very hard for him to approach, but he's very good at punishing people who try to approach him. He also can win neutral when people do nothing. So you have to find a way for them to come to you, or you have to find a way for them to sleep. Like you make them think that you're not gonna come, but then you come. The problem is that he's not very fast, so it's hard to surprise them. But yeah, the ultimate goal would be to force them to come, because that's the only very good situation for Wario in neutral. And how do you do that in some matchup is the hardest, because the pressure is hard with Wario since on the ground he's very slow, and Wario's pressure on the air doesn't exist that much anymore because people space better, they know how to put hitbox and stuff, so it's not as strong as at the beginning. So this is the main part, and this is where bike will help a lot because it puts pressure just by being there sometimes, especially when they don't know how to deal with it, and it makes them forced to choose. That's a very good thing for Wario. Force your opponent to choose. It's very interesting as Wario, because usually other characters can just do that. They run to you, they do an aerial, for example. You have to choose. Do you want to deal with it? Do you want to escape from it and stuff? Wario, you don't have to choose. He comes to you, you don't care. You're just gonna retreat there or stay on place there or back here and stuff like that. He's not gonna do anything. But bike will make you forced to choose. Is the Wario gonna pick up the bike or not? Is he gonna fake it or not and stuff like that? And this is where bike is so strong, because it makes a normal neutral, like a 50-50 neutral. And that's very, very important for Wario, especially in the matchup where he struggles to approach. But yeah, all the characters that can buff them with time or with distance, Wario kind of struggle. But the more I play them, the more I understand how I can pressure them, how I can force them to come to me, and how I can abuse this. Sometimes the answer will be, you don't come, I don't come. It's more and more this. Like, for example, Pikachu, you don't come, I don't come. Bayo, you don't come, I don't come. And I think the ultimate meta will be very, very lame with time, even lamer than now.
Yeah, that's
I
what it
think
seems like.
in general, right, like any video game, the more optimized it gets, the higher the threshold is for you to take action on something. So like what was a very small advantage early on, you can take advantage of that. But now people are so aware of that they're not giving you those like tiny openings. So you have to spend more time basically doing nothing, waiting for an opening, waiting for them to fuck up. And like it's just a lot of movement essentially, but you don't want to commit hard on your movement either. So you're kind of like moving safely away from them and they're moving safely away from you. I think we've seen this in like every Smash game, even like Melee had a phase where that was very true, and then people got better at aggressing, so the threshold got lowered. But like Brawl has been that way. Smash 4, you remember how in Smash 4 we would just like dash shield and then like roll away all the time. Dash shield, roll away, dash shield, roll away. And even other competitive games is very similar. Though they usually use like neutral objectives to get you to go somewhere. So like, oh, you gotta kill the dragon in League of Legends or defuse a bomb in shooter games. But we don't have a neutral objective in Smash.
Oh, we
That's
have
why
something
we need
that can
to
force interaction. We definitely do, but everyone is
item spawns.
well, there
We need item spawns.
put items
Charles.
on. There we go. There's objectives on the
Put
map,
items back on.
and then
Now
Sonic will
you
be
need
better
to
because
approach.
Sonic can run over there really quick with Speed Monado Show, can get over to the Pokeball really quick and get the objective. No, well,
Hey,
we
that's
do have
every-
something. We have a base game mechanic that forces interaction. It's the timer, but people
Time,
don't
yeah.
want to.
Yeah.
People don't want to reduce the timer. And even what Gluto is saying, I don't want this to turn into a rule set talk, but I just want to say that we technically have an in-game mechanic that forces players to interact with each other, but it's just dependent on if our community values more interactions or if they value something that forces interactions, right? And look,
Right.
it just sucks. It's a hard thing to balance because some people that play slower characters, like you can't just run up on someone and force an RPS like Fox or Sheik or like a speedy character, right? So they kind of value these things that Gluto are talking about, where he's like slowly coming in, gathering information bits at a time, and then like then after gathering so much information, then gamble on something or then put your chips on something, right? And take a risk, right? But again, I just don't want this to turn into a rule set discussion. I want it to stay about Wario. But yeah, Gluto, I guess the question I had for you, with the meta slowing down, do you feel like that benefits you because you technically have more time to charge WAF, or does that really not matter because all these other characters that kind of gain resources, like Ramses said, was like they kind of outpower you anyway in the long run, so it doesn't even really matter? Or did I know the name? I tried to.
Yeah, dude, that was
Mm.
clean. I noticed it. Look at you, Charles. I appreciate that.
I'm cultured, baby.
No, go ahead.
So first about timer is funny because personally I would prefer a longer timer than
You
shorter.
want more? See, he wants more interaction. See,
Same as mute. Same as mute.
yeah,
Yeah.
he wants a longer timer. Yeah.
Because it would make me not need to risk interaction that I know I'm not gonna win, but I have to try them because there's no time left.
Right.
And it will make me, for example, a Sonic that spin dash. I would not care if he spin dash 10 times because I will play it in a way where I'm sure I'm not gonna get punished, and I will reduce the risk to have the same reward. Just the probability of succeed of my reward will be very low, but the risk will be very, very low too, and the reward will still be the same. So it would be in my favor. So I would wait. I would not care if he does 15 spin dash if I don't get punished, and I only punish one. It's for me. It's a good reward for me. But since I can't, sometimes the timer is here. I need to come to him, and now I'm gonna lose, but I have to come because of the timer. So
it's
You have to
funny
lose,
because
yeah.
Mutes used the exact same example
Okay.
with Sonic, where
Yep.
like spin dash. It's not really a mix-up that benefits Sonic, but it stalls so much time because you cannot beat it. So if you get more interactions, he shouldn't be hitting you out of like the spin dash mode, but there's a chance that you hit him very safely, right? But then there's Sonix who stops relying on side B, and you get like a whole nother dynamic.
Yeah.
But the point is, I think for slower characters, a longer timer is better. I think the same for Shulk. As a Shulk player, I would like a longer timer, but I think all of the faster characters would prefer a shorter timer.
Yeah.
Right, because
exactly.
the faster characters already can force it. Like that scenario is
Exactly.
good for them, right? So that's why even when talking about like timers and stuff, it's always good to get, you know, multiple perspectives and stuff like that. And I mean, I think at the end of the day, if Sonic wasn't in the game, then like, because Sonic is the one character that can play so defensive and get so much out of it, and like that scenario is so much in his favor. It is fucking insane. It is crazy how broken that move is, and how far away you end up afterwards, how you can corner yourself as the fastest character in the game. So in any scenario, you can put yourself in the corner and then like just fucking start charging spin dash. And there's very few selected characters that can do anything about it, right? And then characters that either let you charge and then you reset, or they come in, you spin dash, they shield it, you go on the other side, you've burned what? At least 5 seconds, right? And then you do it again and then again. So yeah, I mean that's obviously really, it does tie into Wario because it is one of Wario's hardest. I don't know if all of these really hard matches we're talking about, like Game and Watch Steve, Sonic, if they're all on the same tier for you, if you have one that feels worse than the other. What do you think is
Sonic
Wario's
is
worst
Sonic.
matchup?
Sonic.
Sonic
In every games.
Yeah. Dang, even
In
Brawl?
literally every
That's
games.
fucked up.
Yeah.
What's
All
funny
the
is in
brawls-
Brawl, Wario is considered one of Sonic's worst matchups because Brawl Sonics didn't actually know how to do things other than spin dash. So Bite beating spin dash was just like,
Oh,
I got nothing left. I have no plan here.
To be honest, I
Smash
forgot
4.
that Sonic was in Brawl.
He wasn't played much. He definitely, but
And Smash
definitely
4,
worse
it
matchups
did.
in Smash 4 and Ultimate for sure, right?
No, Sonic was still the worst actually in Smash 4.
Yeah, in Smash
I
4.
remember playing Static Manny, the Sonic from Tampa, and he used to complain about Chomp beating Spin Dash, right? And I told him, yo, watch this. We sat down, and Chomp was so laggy on the ground that Sonic could spin, because you know he used to be able to cancel it with shield. Sonic could spin, stop running for the warrior, and charge an S smash like before he closed his mouth with Chomp. Yeah, that's how bad it was. And once I showed him that, he was like, oh, never mind then. Like, and then he just realized how much he could do. Like, and he never lost the warrior after that. Like, it's Reflex was ahead of his time for all of this. By the way, he said all this to me, like early Ultimate, early Smash 4. He said that if Sonic plays the game the way they should, that matchup was 100-0. And he played early Ultimate, and that happened to him because he was in a region with Raph, Sonito, Blue Man something
Georgia,
100.
yeah.
He had like 7 Sonics over there. Like, and he was still beating them, right? Because they refuse to play the timer. And he used to say all the time that even early Ultimate, he felt like Ultimate was a band-aid version of Smash 4, as Reflex said. That's why he didn't like Ultimate, and he stopped playing it early on. But he used to say the same thing. He said if Sonic plays this and that way, Warrior should never be able to do that. And you're realizing it now, obviously, way later in the game when Sonic is actually doing it to pretty much every character who can't deal with it.
So
Yep.
I think that one of the things that Gluto has mentioned before, I think it was actually probably about a few years at this point, back when Gluto first became or started his win streak against Leo, was he realized that, I believe it was something to the effect of, you don't have to be in any single place. There's multiple places you can be, and multiple times you can be there. And so by making them guess and being at different places at different times, that you, as a player, because you Gluto are one of the best adapters on the planet, if not the best, that you are able to leverage that against your opponent behind the controller and basically use that information. And I think the same thing goes to the timer as well. Like, I know we mentioned waft, but you as a player, the more time you're given with somebody on the game screen, I think that it's not one to one. Like 10 minutes with you is not the same as 10 minutes somebody else playing with you. It's like you get a bigger advantage than they do. And so when the matches go longer and when the timer matches happen, yeah, it might not necessarily be to Wario's advantage, but it's to Glutonny's advantage. And I think that's the main difference maker here.
Yeah,
I agree.
exactly.
Yeah, I think just
I
Gluto
realized
gets
that
more
like
value from interactions, right? Just because you're adapting at a faster rate. But yeah.
yeah, like time is with me and with Wario, so that make it even better. But in some matchups, unfortunately, it's not for Wario even because the waft will never happen, or I will have only one possibility of trying waft in the game. So even if it's stay like very long, the game will be very long, but there is no way I can find one. But it's only like the worst of the worst matchups. Usually, for example, Peach, I think the matchup can be very lame, but at least the 2 or 3 waft that I could have, I could really use them. And it will happen that I will use 2 waft against Peach sometimes, but some other matchups, maybe 2 randoms waft, but not 2 waft setups. And even the randoms waft would be very hard against a good Game & Watch or a good Sonix, for example. But yeah,
Gotta
I
get
don't
those
remember.
parries.
Oh yeah, the parry is very important, but they nerf waft, so sometimes even parry waft doesn't even exist anymore. So the nerf was not necessary.
At all.
No.
The nerfs are pretty messed
Uh,
up.
Up till was
Yeah.
fine, but nerfing off is just stupid.
Yeah, one of the two, okay, but not the two of them. Like, why? Also, you had a question before we talk about the time, but I don't remember which one was it.
Oh yeah, with no, you answered the question with the timer. It was like if there was more time, do you feel like you
Oh yes.
would you like that even though there's characters
Mm.
that gain more resources or get stronger with more time and they like
Oh yeah.
essentially scale harder than you, right? But you said you would still prefer more time because it just gives you more interactions, right? And then if you can,
Yeah.
it gives you more time to gather information. And then if you have more time to gather information, when you act and you take the risk that event, because like at the end of the day, the your bad matchups sound like you cannot force the opponent to approach. It is not possible to make them approach, or at least in a way that Wario's defense will trump their offense. So you
Mm-hmm.
have to take your offense onto their defense eventually, right? And
Yes, that's very
obviously,
bad.
right, but you're not just gonna run up and do it. Like, you obviously
No.
want to gather as much information as possible, so when you do get that one opening, you get a really good combo starter. You can combo into waft, possibly,
Mm-hmm.
or at least get a lot of damage, or at least get a really good position. So, yeah, you definitely answered my question. Was there anyone
Okay.
else who had any,
So,
like, questions for Gluto, specifically for Wario?
so for you mentioned that, like, for example, Sonic is Wario's worst matchup, but even you, I believe, well, obviously there's the famous reverse 3 stock on Ken, but point being, outside of exactly Sonic's, you've taken a set, I think, from all the Warios you've run into so far. And
You mean
the,
Sonic,
Yeah.
I'm assuming?
I'm sorry, yes.
You said all the
Yeah.
Warriors.
Yes, all the Wario Sonic matchups you've run into
Yeah.
so far, you've been able to take a set from those Sonic players, and so, and even against Sonics, you have taken him to game 5 before. So my point being here, like, what would you say is really that set apart? Like, what are you going to leverage as Wario in order to push those so that you're taking sets from every last Sonic instead? Same thing
Good
versus
question.
like the Steve players and such.
Good question. That's the hard part in the matchup. Because
Yeah.
Still
if I
figuring it
knew, I
out.
would not lose.
Good
So
question,
maybe.
Tony.
I could say at least like what sets Sonics apart from the other Sonic is that just like Warriors gathering information throughout the match, other players do the same. And I think Sonics is better at gathering information because there are times he'll just stop spinning and say, "Oh, since you've been jumping at this height to beat my spin dash, I'll just run up and do a rising up air," and that could lead to potentially a stock with Sonix because of his advantage state, or even into like 60, which puts you down the rabbit hole of like the lead percent time, like shenanigan. So I think Sonix is better because of that. Because even when he played Raph back in the day, I remember that Raph did try to take him to time in 2 out of the 4 games. I think he won 3-1. Got really close to going to time, but when Raph did win an interaction, the reward was nowhere near as big compared to what Sonix, which allowed Gluto to get more chances to like poke and learn more about the way he plays. So that's what sets Sonix apart, in my opinion. I guess to answer the opposite side of that question, Tony.
The
No.
the thing
yeah.
is, I feel Sonix is so much better than other Sonic, and like for example, when I play with a Sonic, or even if it's friendlies, if I tree stock them, there's an issue. That's not normal. That means it's not me playing that much better than them. It's them playing bad. I can't be that good to tree stock a good Sonic. That's not possible. As Wario, that means they just do a bad game plan against Wario and as Sonic, because I feel that Sonic's game plan optimal is very good against Wario. Basically, even if you don't think about Wario, if you say, okay, how should a optimal Sonic play? Okay, that's the best the best way to play against Wario. So I think they don't play optimal Sonic, and the difference is Sonix is just very good at everything about Sonic. Some other Sonics are good maybe in advantage or maybe in camping, but rarely both. And he's good literally everywhere. And he knows also how to play specifically against Carter. So even if he didn't know Wario, it would be hard. But I think I could make it. But he's very good and he knows exactly how to play. So that's make it even harder. And the solution would be to trying to find new ways of forcing some type of interaction that are fine for Wario. And as always, it should involve bike for sure. I just need to try a lot of them. The issue again is like, how can I practice this against other Sonics if they don't play that as good as him in this type of precise situation? Because if they give me themselves the situation, I didn't work for it, so I didn't learn anything. And for Sonix, I need to work on every situation, every interaction to win, and it's way harder. And of course, I play a lot with him, but it takes a lot of time. It takes a lot of time for a matchup that hard to win. And even if I did some 3-2s against him or some very close games, it was still not enough. But I'll try to find more and more stuff. And also, sometimes he just plays better because he's so good. And I can catch up with that as a player, not talking about the matchup. And also playing better in the matchup, trying to find new stuff. Maybe, yeah, with bike. Bike should be the only possible answer. And if bike is not enough, that's over.
That's a wrap.
There's no way. Yeah.
It's so funny to me that like items are so strong in ultimate that even like the weird items like bike where you can't like jump with it or whatever, right? Or wait, yeah, because if you like fall off the
Only
stage, you
DK
like
can.
drop it. Or DK
Only
can jump
DK,
with it.
yeah.
DK
Yeah.
That is-
cargo throws the bike. Yeah, he
That
grabs
is
it like
so
a person.
funny.
A
I had
cargo
no
throw.
idea.
Yeah.
He
That is
needs it.
It's very
hilarious.
funny.
It's heavy items are different for him, yeah.
Okay, well, I guess
Yeah.
I mean DK is very strong, so he's very capable of doing that. But yeah, it just feels like bike is extending your range, and it answers the question. It just sucks because it does come with a risk, right? So you sacrifice your potential disadvantage, right? Because you're still in neutral. So you bring out the bike, and you're like, well, if I lose neutral, then my disadvantage is way worse, right? Because you don't have bike to, go high or recover high or something like that. So at lower percents,
Mhm.
I don't think it's too bad, but it solves the range issue, right? Where you're like, well, at least with the bike throw, you have some kind of mid-range threat where you could kind of like walk up, throw the bike, and you're creating the scenario. You're trying to create the scenario of like, okay, will this range essentially be enough to force my opponent to one, pick an option, and two, approach me, right? And then you can start mixing up with like throwing the bike up and controlling the air. So yeah, and then obviously it blocks like any projectiles. It also causes more hit lag if they come in and approach the bike and they hit the bike with some kind of aerial. So it gives you more time to whiff punish.
Mhm.
So just kind of for any of the viewers that don't might not understand the intricacies of the bike. Obviously, I know everyone in this call does, but just to re-explain to the viewer why Gluto puts so much faith in the bike, because it feels like it solves so much issues. And even like something like the Diddy matchup, where if Wario didn't have a bike in front of him, then the banana becomes essentially like a sword move, right? It essentially becomes this move that you can whiff punish Wario with, and it's transcendent. Wario can't like throw out a move to beat it out. He might be able to catch it. But if the bike is there, then it almost acts like Luma or a fire hydrant, where now the banana gets shut down if Wario is behind the bike, right? So there's
Mhm.
so many. It not only is it an item that increases Wario range, it's an item that deals with other items too, and kind of like blocks projectiles. So it's an all-in-one tool. It's a pretty big sacrifice though, because Wario bike in disadvantage is one of the reasons why Wario's disadvantage isn't that bad, because most of the time he can just recover high, and he has so much air mobility. He can zigzag left and right with neutral
Mhm.
air dodge. It's not too bad. Um, but yeah, I mean, was there any other? Did you guys want to keep talking about
It's
Wario, or any other more questions for Snorely or Gluto about
I wanted
Wario?
to add on to the bike. So
Oh yeah, sure.
there's multiple things it can do. So like you can also use it for defense, and like part of using bike will is if you use the bike to pay attention to how the opponent responds to it. So obviously, if your opponent just lets you do whatever you want, then you can just go ahead and pick it up and just walk up to them and take over neutral that way. But also, like if your opponent gets really nervous when you have the bike, then you can just spawn it and then wait for them to make a mistake and then take advantage of that mistake. So there's players who will try and do that. And then, of course, there's also a lot of situations, like, for example, uh, things that have height hit lag, but are normally pretty safe. So things like Cloud Forwarder are normally really difficult for characters like Wario to punish unless he's already pre-positioned. But if he hits Bike after he hits Wario's shield, then for example, then what was a pretty safe swing was now one of the least safe sword swings in the game, because there's so much hit lag on that Wario can basically just drop shield and run up and grab him, when most of the cast can't really do that otherwise, even on parry. So there's just a lot of different things that Bike can do, and more importantly, again, to circle back to being Gluto playing it, uh, he is paying attention. It's not just any player looking at how you're responding to Bike. It's one of the most dangerous people looking at how you're responding to Bike. So he's internalizing that and thinking about how he's going to take advantage of your mistakes when you do that. So to go into the next question, Gluto, and kind of a rephrasing of the last one I asked, what would you say you do to take advantage of other players' mistakes that other players don't do? So, like, how can other players adapt better?
I'm gonna help them.
Gluto's like, I don't know if I want to tell people that.
Oh fuck.
He's like, sign
He's
up for
out.
my
He's out.
Metafy.
Don't believe
I'm
his
out.
lies.
I'm out. I would say understanding things better, and understand what implies every situation and every decision making. Kind of the same way I told you about, okay, he's gonna back my shield, I can't do anything. But it's not really I can't do anything. It's not like the situation will happen again and again and again, as if the stage was infinite. For example, imagine the stage is infinite and I play against a Palu. She literally does only dash away backer. I can literally do nothing because the stage is infinite. But since the stage isn't infinite, it will imply to lose something all the time. Every time you do a decision, you lose something. Okay, you can win something, but you lose something. You have to understand what you lose and how to work around this, and also what it implies. For example, setting up the bike, what does it imply? Do I take risks by setting it up? When can they not allow me to set this up? And how to play around? What are my intention about this? And it's kind of the same about everything, I guess. But maybe as Wario, I have to know everything about everything. But as other characters, they don't have to know that much, so they're not used to have to understand everything and what it implies. And maybe they should try to work more on that as characters, because it will only help them. So even like Steve players could do that, I guess, like with the S side B down air okay, I do side B. What my opponent, how should he position to avoid the side B? And what can I do if I know that he wants to avoid the side B, for example? Because if he want to avoid side B, maybe he'll dash back more. So that will allow me to just continue to mine and stuff like that. So I'm sure Steve's already do that, but it's literally this, but all the time, in every situation, every time, every decision making, you have to understand what it implies, how you can play around, and yeah, really understand all there is around this situation. Because it's not only the situation, it's how it happened, what I can do to avoid it, or how can I play it better. So that's how they could adapt better, I think.
I think something PPMD said in his thread, and this is like 10 years ago already, but I remember it was very impactful to me when I was playing Brawl. Is a good player will look at how to play a situation better, and a great player will look at the situation before. You know
Before,
what I mean?
okay.
Exactly. And so especially for Wario, a character that relies so much on movement, it's all about how you set up the situation. And I think to kind of recap what Gluto said, or not recap, but add on to it, I should say. I think things like stage control or your opponent whiffing or having a read, these are all like small advantages. And the more small advantages you have going into any situation, the more likely you are to win it. And so, like, a certain interaction in center stage can go wrong if you do the same interaction in the corner. You can win it just because they have less options, right? So for a character like Wario, but also a character, you know, like other characters that are so like Joker, for example, that are more movement based, I always push my students to like just look for as many like small advantages as possible and then engage.
I wanted to, well, not to add on to anything, but I was so happy hearing him explain that because I guess I've known him since like Smash 4. So watching him come from like the guy that was head first forcing interaction 24/7, like aggressive Wario, to
Yeah,
watching him
it's me.
explain that now, I'm just like it's like watching a kid grow up or whatever, right? Like it just made me proud a little bit because I remember before when he was playing even Rafa, and you remember those 2 or 3 sets that Rafa got on him back in Europe, and he used to say that whenever he speaks fair or back here on my shit, I didn't know what to do. Because he would fair out a shield, but that would set up Palu auto spacing fair and back here for you to get dared, and that would just eat up all your fair out of shield. And I was telling him that like he can't do it forever. Like, you know, like he's gonna do it. It has to be fully spaced because if Palu would space both those move, or you could either shield grab them or be out of shield as an actual punish. So I was telling him, like, you know, what happens once you run out of stage after doing 3 back here on your shield? He has to pick something else. And then so watching him like that's the one thing I guess that's very fun about coaching him. A lot of the time he just needs like one small idea or like the key to open the door. And once he opened it, like you just watch the ideas flourish because now that he realized that with Palu, he started doing it with every other character because he's like, okay, what about Cloud? What about, you know, Sora? What about so watching that snowball really fast is a really, I guess, like euphoric like feeling watching him figure it out after like giving him those 1 or 2 things. Like I just wanted to add that in because I was just proud for a second. But sorry.
Oh yeah,
And
that's really sick.
going back to speaking of growing, I know Gluto mentioned that Bike Wario is where Wario's going in the future, but the situation leading up to like this year, even I would say one of the big things Gluto's been working on has been Wario's ground game. Yeah. So like
Yeah.
working on adapting grounded Wario, because one of the big things going forward is like the difference between Tweak's Wario from back in the day and Gluto's Wario now. So Gluto was the big aerial Wario, and then Tweak would just beat people in neutral, and he didn't need combos or
We used to
anything
call it the tweak
particularly
way.
fancy. Yeah. So Gluto, like you mentioned, Sonix can do everything. You're learning to do everything yourself now. So the only bike Wario basically, and then you're also grounded and air Wario now. How did you really start working on grounded Wario? I think it was originally Ramses actually who brought up that you needed to learn grounded Wario, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, so it was after my set against Chag at main stage. So I was a lot in the air, and he was one of the people who will not let me be in the air that much, or let me be but without a reward, because okay, I'm in the air but then I can't even touch him afterwards. So we together we saw the video, the VOD, and this is one part that he explained me. It was like being grounded will always be a safer way to play neutral and a less committal way, because you don't commit that much while that when you're in the air. Because in the air I used to be fine because people would just whiff at me in a bad way, and even when I was in the air I could whiff punish them in the air, and that's where every Wario thing that Wario was good in neutral before. He was like, yeah, he's so broken aerial mobility, he can whiff punish in the air so good and stuff. But then people got better and it was useless. I could be in the air all the time. I will never punish them for it. And I got punished because he told me that every time I double jump, I get punished. And I didn't realize it because I was double jumping in the air all the time in Europe, and it was working. And then I do it in US and I get fucked. So it was a very difficult to understand why it doesn't work. And then he told me, yeah, but okay, Wario is good in the air, but here, no, like it doesn't work. So maybe you should try to be more grounded, stick with down tilt, more shield, and you basically just say more and more grounded, even if the auto shield doesn't work. Because of course I was staying grounded against, for example, Chrome, because I just had to shield. He hit my shield, I fair auto shield, okay. But against Palu, I didn't know what to do because I'm in the air, I lose. I'm on the ground, I lose. I can't auto shield, so it was very hard. But he told me, yeah, you can just poke the. I think he's the first one who explained me the concept of poke. What is a poke? I didn't know what was a poke before I talked to him, and it was and down tilt is the best definition of poke. It's literally just okay, you try this, and then you see what happens around. If it works and you have a true punish, okay, just go. If it doesn't work, what happened? Did he just dash back because he's scared of down tilt? Did he shield? So you have to know what he's gonna do after the shield. Did he just jump on you because he knew you were gonna down tilt and then he punish you? So you and stuff like that. And this is where I started to understand how ground game works, even if it's I don't know if I can say that Wario ground game is good or not, because it it's so weird, because I feel it's not free. Like Greninja is obviously good on the ground game. He stay on the ground, he dash attack. Wario is not the case, but let's say it's like typical Wario. He has tools sometimes, but you have to work around them. It's not like free. You okay, just stay grounded. It's free. No, it's like you have to mix between sometimes the air, bait in the air, then you stay grounded, then you poke, then you shield, then you go back, then you wait, then you change again. So it's force you to mix up more. And yeah, but I used to not even know that I could play neutral on the ground, except auto shields. So yeah, this is when I discovered this new part
Oh,
of
no.
That's how
Wario.
you beat the buzz. But okay.
That's how he beat Leo at Summit. I remember we had that session just before you played Leo at Summit.
Yeah,
Grounded
yeah,
game
true.
coming through.
Ground game.
I know Tony
game.
wanted to talk about this as well. And I feel like this is a great question to ask Gluto specifically, but we always, I don't know if you guys have seen I believe it's the Lima tweet that talks about characters that are problems. And then there's problem characters that just have a really good like flow chart. Something like Game and Watch is the perfect example of a problem character where they can throw out this problem, right? Where it's just like, okay, well, I'm gonna just throw out these narratives. And like, not a lot of the characters can deal with this problem, but I'm just throwing them out, right? I mean, there are characters that can deal with it, obviously, but like it is a very loaded thing in Game and Watch's favor. Fox is another one, right? Fox throws out Nair, hits someone's shield. If you don't have like a Game and Watch up B or something like that, it's a huge problem that a lot of characters deal with, right? And I feel like Wario isn't a problem character. Wario feels like more of a problem solver, where you have like these wide option of tools and like micro movements in the air because of the air acceleration and airspeed, where you can find these little holes inside of these problems where like these little answers, right? Where you can come in, get a really big punish, whether it's just a combo or a waft punish. But do you feel the same way? Do you feel like Wario is more of a problem solving character that you have to go up against all these other characters that have like these very big problems that they can kind of just throw out at Wario, and then like, are you trying to what are you trying to do if while you're in that perspective as the problem solver, right? It because that's what it feels like most of your career has been, is just problem solving, where it's just like, oh
Yeah.
wow, like these characters just air to air to me, like now I got to stay more grounded, and it kind of feels like that has been the whole journey. Is that true, Gluto?
Yeah, 100% true. Like, who is gonna be scared of a Wario coming to him? No one. You just outspace him, you just backer him. You don't care about the Wario coming to you. It's good. Or Wario comes, it's free. But Wario who doesn't come, who think about how you play, who waits for you, who baits you and stuff like that. This is a scary Wario because you never know what he can do about you showing a problem to him. But people started to make their problem bigger. So, for example, at the beginning, okay, Roy was good because he was doing a lot of nair, and it was hard to punish. But then it was very easy to punish a Roy that do only full in nair. But then they start to nair on place, mix up with shield, mix up with down shield, and it's gonna be way more hard for Wario to deal with that because okay, if I know exactly what you're gonna do, I'm gonna punish it. But if you mix up a bit, how can I punish the timing is kind of hard and stuff like that. And it always have been new problems. I remember at the at the beginning, one of the main problem was, for example, Zelda. I
Wow.
swear, Zelda was a
Meru.
big problem
That matchup is annoying, like Jigglypuff
for
and all.
Wario. Yeah, it was so
Yeah.
hard. Like, what can I do? I can't approach her. It's very hard to touch her. When I touch her, it's not with combo starter. The Phantom puts me so far. I can't approach by the air. Her up air will kill me easy and stuff like that. It was so hard. But then, of course, that was the problem. I found solution, and the more you find solution, the more it will be like Snorely said, a new key that you could try in another problem. And you're like, okay, now I have this key, this key, this key. I have a new problem. I will try this key that I already have. Maybe it will open the door very well. Maybe it will not open very well. So I have to recreate a key that looks like the same key, but kind of different. And the more you have new keys, the more door you can open. And the easiest it is to create new keys, not from scratch. So creating a new key from scratch takes a lot of time. For example, the ground game, it took so much time because it was a new key, completely new concept. But then the way I approached this new concept on the value matchup, for example, was not good enough for some other matchups, but it was still a ground game. So I just had to take the same key and then modify some little stuff that was easier to modify than creating a new key completely. And since Wario has only problems, he has to find only solutions. So I have so many keys now because I had so many problems. And of course, some characters don't have that much keys, and some players don't have that much keys because they don't need. They don't need the keys to this. They will just do the same thing back here until it works. So they don't need, and even if they had the key, they couldn't use it. For example, Steve, for me, is the one who has the less keys. He doesn't need, and he can't use them. Why would you use a key when you can side B?
Why use
For the
keys
10th time in a row?
when you
You
have
can
my
run to the door. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I also
He is the door.
I also think this is a big part of why you're so strong at adapting, because you've played one character your entire career pretty much, right?
Mm.
So like I feel like as other players where it's like, okay, new game, or just maybe like new like season of Smash. I mean, I know post quarantine a lot of people were switching up their characters and stuff like that, right? But you stuck with one character through your entire life of competition. So even when hearing you talk about like, oh well, to be really good at adapting, you have to fully understand the scenario down to a T, right? Like every
Mm-hmm.
little reason, every option your opponent has, every option you have, and then you see the options and you're like, well, why did they pick said option and stuff like that, right? You really start diving into the mental aspect, but you have to know the game. You have to understand the framework of the game, and I feel like you're forced to do that because you just tough out bad matchups. You like from the get-go, you've just you've toughed out an entire fucking game. Like you played Smash 4 and you just toughed it out with Wario. You know what I mean? Which is like crazy. So you've gone like literal iterations of Super Smash, like whole iteration, game iterations, right? So you already know the drill. You know your tools, right? Some of them change from here and there, and then you got to understand the base game mechanics, but you're never really switching around characters and you're really
Mhm.
refining these said keys. So I don't know if that's the reason why you are so good at adapting, but I feel like it's got to be a part of it, right? Because you've been put in that
Yeah.
scenario so many times, and you're never putting yourself in a scenario where like, oh, I'm gonna relearn this character for this match. Like you're just like, okay, well, these are my tools. Like, how am I going to find this opening? How am I really going to, and then that forces you to like really understand the situation, really get into the frame data and know all these things, which is why there's so many clips of your Wario specifically doing like all these, like the waft off the trampoline and stuff. Like you cannot do that by being unstudied, right?
One of a
Like,
kind.
yes, exactly. Like
Situational.
very hyper situational, but you study the game so much and you understand these situations so much because you just have to, because you are trying to make this character work good matchup or bad, right?
The Terror win against Tweak was a good example of that last talk. With the
Yes.
banana, with the
Yeah,
because
it was a
that probably will
perfect
never
example.
happen again. But like the fact that it just happened that time and it mattered, that's all that matters. Like,
Mhm.
Yeah, exactly. It was not something that happened a lot, but I knew it can happen. For example, the Nair, I can't say I knew the banana was gonna drop out and I knew that the Nair was gonna catch it, but I knew that it could possibly happen, and I knew that if it happens, I have to react fast and stuff like that. So even if I didn't force it or I didn't knew it for sure, I knew it could happen. And I have a lot of situations, so I know exactly what could possibly happen. And since I know already, I react very, very, very fast. And yeah, the fact that I play him since so long forced me to adapt, because I couldn't do it if I didn't adapt. It's very simple. Also, to be honest, even when I was very young, my first tournament, I was very good at adapting, but it was still necessary to be where I am. I think Wario is the ultimate natural selection. So to be good, you have to survive. You have to survive and to solve all these problems.
That's
Yeah,
raw.
yeah.
Yeah.
Like you don't have to survive as Steve.
You
lose
know
like
those you know those anime backstories where they're like, we trained them as kids and then we made them all fight each other and one survived, and that's my
Yeah.
secret weapon. That's you, Gluto.
Yeah.
You killed the other kids.
Yeah. Wow.
They're all gone. No.
They're all gone. Your friend's a super weapon.
Yeah, I really think Wario is a selection, natural selection. And for example, Twig didn't pass the selection natural of the consistency, but this is a toxic selection natural, because it's not, or you have to find a real good solution. It should not exist. Like he should be at least consistent on percent. So I understand that he don't want to pass this test. I'm sure he could pass a lot of tests, but this one is just toxic, and it should not exist. And yeah, you have to know everything about everything. And it's very funny because of this, I have so many keys that sometimes I see people play some matchups and they tell me, oh, this situation is so hard for my character, I can't do anything. And I play the character and I play the situation, and the solution is already there. I already have it. I know exactly what they should do, even if I don't play their character, because I seen this type of problem already, and I just adapt from their character. I'm like, okay, this to solve this problem, you should do this if you have this tool as your character, or this if you don't have this tool. And then I just solve the problem very fast because I already seen so much that I already have the answer. And the opposite is true. For example, one problem that Wario doesn't is edgeguard. Like Wario doesn't get edgeguard by almost anyone. So for example, I don't have the most keys in not getting edgeguard because I don't have to. And for example, Spargo is very, very, very good at not getting edgeguard. I don't know how he does that as Cloud. And I think he has way more keys than me here. And when I play other characters, it's very easy for me to find solutions to weird problems that people have. But I will get edgeguard way more than them with their characters, because I'm not used to having to work that much to not get edgeguard, for example. And that's why uh, I don't have the keys because Wario doesn't need the keys in this specific situation. He doesn't get edgeguard by a lot of people. And the way he can escape this is sometimes just going very high, so it's still not very, it's not really edgeguard. So yeah, but he has to work for so much situation that now I have the key to a lot of stuff, even very small specific stuff. And sometimes this stuff you could even use them with every character. For example, the ledge trap. Wario's ledge trap is very weird, right? Like it's not okay. You do one move, then you spam, then you play around, and you see how your characters work around this. Because okay, Nair will work in some characters that specifically stay in this situation and in this area without a hitbox, because Nair doesn't have a good hitbox. But it will work if the hitbox comes from the side, because it could trade. But if the hitbox come from the down, it will not trade. It will just lose. So you have to be in a different position and stuff. So this is so weird to have to think so much in a even ledge trap that it forced me to have keys to every situation. And that's why I think it's literally natural selection. If you don't, you can't be good with Wario. That's why I think he's very hard, and I understand that people don't want to commit to this character. But at the same time, he still has the tools to find this solution. I don't think you can do the same with bad characters like Ganondorf. You can be the smartest guy in the world. You won't do anything in some situation because he doesn't have the tools. And same for Dark Souls Ultimate characters. For example, Kazuya or Steve. Okay, Steve is very good, and Kazuya, some people think he's very good, but I don't think he's good at all. I think he's very bad at Smash, but he's very toxic and very good at a Dark Soul Ultimate. But at Smash, what can he do in another situation? You camp him on the platform. What is he gonna do? In a lot of matchups, nothing. In a lot of situations, nothing. But he doesn't care because he's not gonna do anything here, nothing. But here, he can touch you once and kill you. So that makes him so strong. But it's not strong at Smash Ultimate. It's very strong at Dark Souls Ultimate. Same for Steve and stuff. And if you play this character, you don't have to find the keys. And even if you have the keys, you can't use them. So that's kind of weird. But that's why I like Wario so much. Like you always have problems and you always find solution to these problems. And it's a big reward, personal reward to just find solutions to stuff. For example, when I knew how to play against Zelda, I was so happy.
You finally beat Zelda.
Yeah, I finally beat Zelda. Let's go. When I finally beat like very weird characters, I don't remember. Krool. Krool
That was
is
from the beginning. There's no way.
what?
He's struggling against Carol?
Yeah.
I was like,
At the
how?
No, I don't know. It's so hard. I always struggle at the beginning with him.
He brought a very
there's-
weird mechanic. Armored aerials is a very.
Dude.
I think that is a new mechanic to the game, right? Armored aerials.
It is. It
Yeah.
is.
I mean,
I
Nair
is
remember
good.
people having a very high opinion of K. Rool at launch.
That shit was.
He
mad
got
broken,
At the
nerfed
beginning,
in the first patch.
which was crazy.
Right.
Wow. Yeah, but of course some characters will be way easier. Like
Yeah.
But it will never be the opposite. It will, or almost never. It will never be. Okay, I do my game plan. Wario do his game plan, and it will be very easy for Wario to beat the other one with the game plan, and the other one will adapt to Wario. It's almost always the opposite, and that's what is very interesting with Wario, because you always have to work and always have to struggle and understand. But there is more reward, because even if you understand everything with some other characters, you will not be able to have the answer in this situation, because you only have to abuse some other situation. And I think it's very interesting to play like this. And of course, I don't think Wario is the only one like this. I think there's a lot of characters the same way. Pikachu, Peach,
Joker,
Wario. I might forget one, but I think that these are the four that I think are the more problem solver and and have the more solutions too.
I think Diddy Kong falls into that too. Diddy Kong Wolf.
Yeah.
Did he
They
come
might not
without
have
banana?
as many solutions, or I guess as many tools as some of the other ones, but I think they still fall under
Yeah,
like we
maybe
have
that's why Twitch
precision.
loves DD so much, and he loves Wario too. Maybe there's some others, but I think these 4, or maybe 5 with DD are the most problem solvers in the game.
Yeah, you got a wide toolbox, and you can go ahead like with these characters with a lot of different tools, and you have like these toolbox top tiers. You play a lot of matchups very different. Whereas in if you are a problem quote unquote character that has like a handful of tools that are really really strong, then you probably play most matchups the same. Where it's like, okay, well, like for the most part, my game plan against 80 to 90% of the cast is this like general flow
Yes.
chart of like these 3 to 4 moves. And then there's a couple characters that like shit on this move or this move. So I have to do this one a little bit more, or I have to like do this other, or I have to like change my strategy a little bit. Whereas these toolbox characters, they're probably playing almost every matchup differently, which is takes a lot more time and you have to understand the game more. But in my opinion, is way more satisfying to get
Uh,
victories or like grow and learn that
Mm-hmm.
character and get W's with it because it just takes so much work.
I wanted to say, I was thinking about how some characters could potentially be both. I was thinking of Rob specifically, where he could actually be a problem, where like he's just gyro laser. Can you deal with this? And if you do know how to deal with it, I think he has enough tools to warrant him to be a problem solver. Because I think Rob could play a lot of every matchup differently, whether it's using less of one of the two projectile, using more falling fair or rising fair, using less snares, etc. So, but at the same time, I think because those characters are both in a sense, it makes the players more reliant on the problem aspect because they rather just autopilot and present the problem to their opponent.
It's
And a lot
easier.
of the times when they meet people who solve that problem, they say it's a bad matchup instead of trying to become a problem solver to tap
Exactly.
into the other side of that character. Because I think
Yeah.
Rob is one of those that Wario could just beat every single matchup ever, even Game and Watch, which they swear is like the worst thing ever.
I think the way I talk about problem solving and problem establishing is that it kind of revolves around how strong your tool is. If you have a tool that they have to play around in a certain situation, then in that situation you are the problem. And most of these like very problem solver characters, they don't really rely on tools and more so on movement to create situations. So if you think about Peach, she becomes a problem when she's next to you. And Wario in some situations also is a problem. It just requires a lot of movement to get there. Same for Joker. And so that's why like R.O.B is a very good example of a problem character because his tools are pretty situation agnostic. Like in any given situation, he probably has a tool with which he can establish a problem. But for Joker, Wario, Peach, they have to move into very specific locations to do so. And if you rely on movement in neutral, you're not establishing threat, right? You're establishing a situation from which you're going to be establishing threat. So while you're establishing that situation, you have to deal with the opponent, and that is the problem solving. And I think the cool thing about Wario is that out of all of the problem solver characters, arguably Joker, no, actually arguably Peach as well because she's float. But he just has so many different avenues to move through because of his airspeed and to some degree his floatiness as well. As well as bike being another like unique option. He has, like Gluto says, he just has many different type of keys that he can make. Whereas for Peach, your solution is always probably going to have something to do with movement. And with Joker, your movement, or sorry, with float, and with Joker, your solution is almost always going to be like grounded movement to some degree because while his aerial movement is great, right? Vertical movement is just weaker and weaker. As Gluto explained, he just double jumps. I mean, Wario's double jump is a little worse than Joker's, but you usually just put yourself in a bad situation. I think Wario out of those three especially has the most variation in the paths that he takes to solve problems.
Yep.
Yep.
Tony, did you have any did you have
No.
any other things to add on?
Yeah. I just forgot how to say. I used to have the feeling of a problem character, but it was before nerf. It was literally, oh, you're above me, I'm gonna up tilt. what are you gonna do?
Mhm.
It was so reliable. It was literally like, okay, this is the situation where Wario is broken. I literally just have to up tilt. If it works, it works, and he can die. If it doesn't, I will just work around it, and that's very very easy. But it doesn't exist anymore. Up tilt is not a real anti-air anymore, and the reward is not that big because of waft nerf. So that's why bike comes and is kind of a problem because I put the bike. If I put the good situation, I use it, and it's like, you, what are you gonna do about it? And but without the bike, it never exists with Wario, never. That's why it's so hard. It's only after you won neutral, for example. But in neutral, it will never happen, and it's very 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 hard. But bike comes, and sometimes when I kill with bike and I just throw the bike and it kills, it I'm so happy. I didn't work hard for the kill. Let's go. Because if even the pair waft, you have to work for the finding an upper or up tilt, which is not easy, and then work for the setup of combo waft, which is sometimes very free, to be honest, but sometimes so hard for no reason. And that's why bike is the solution for sure.
Yeah, so I guess we can pivot off of Wario and kind of talk about the European scene. I know Ramses and yourself, Gluto, have been part of the European scene since Brawl. So you guys have seen, because for the viewers at home, for the Smash communities, there's pretty much the Melee community, and then there's the current Smash game community. So a lot of people that are in the Ultimate community that played Brawl, most people don't stick around and keep playing Brawl. Like there is really small like Brawl community, or I don't even know if there's I know there's a small Brawl community that still plays competitive Brawl, but I don't know if there's even a small Smash 4 community that still plays competitive Smash 4. Maybe there is. But for the most part, most of the players move on to the most recent games. So I guess starting with Gluto, how do you feel like the European scene overall has grown? I know that's a very huge blanket statement because Europe has a ton of countries in it, and I know for most Americans, we kind of just consider EU as one region. But I guess like EU in general and France for you specifically, how has it been watching that scene grow? And I know Europe in general has been putting on crazy tournaments, but I know France specifically has been going in with like crazy
Hmm.
productions and stuff like that. So how's that journey been for you?
In terms of the tournament and community and people watching or playing, yeah, it took a lot of time, but we finally made it in a way where we are a lot of players, we are a lot of people watching, a lot of people invest in the game, a lot of money involved, a lot of team involved, and even if it took time, it got really, really, really big now, and really we are happy about this because it's due to literally everyone who worked for the scene. Everyone had his part in this. The one who were organizing tournaments, even the one who were playing, the one who tried to make it known for everyone. Uh, even the influencers, for example, Etoile, who plays a lot the game, makes it very very big because a lot of players, a lot of people will watch him playing the game, and it gets bigger because of this. Also, the big teams involved in France, Solari, K-Corp, and stuff, makes it even bigger, and everything will help to grow the community and make it better and bigger. Even the production now is one of the best in the world. UFA, Odyssey, kind of the best tournaments ever. So yeah, it gets so much bigger, and I'm really happy about it. Really proud about everyone who worked for this. And speaking of the level of the players, is the same. It took time, a lot of time, but we finally can be proud of our work and our level, because our top level in EU are now very, very, very good. I wish there would be more people as good, of course, in every country, but it's already very satisfying. We have very, very good people in UK, France, Spain, um, uh, Netherlands, uh, Germany now. Italy is more small than the others, so of course there is less players, but they still have some good players. And yeah, we can finally say that we have some players that are at the top level of the world. For example, Raflo is very, very, very good. Siski, Bloom, Logi, Tariq. Tariq got so much better recently. I might Ramses.
Hey,
Hey.
I beat SkyJ.
Dang, good shit.
Can't
There's
forget
Flo
Flo.
who did
Yeah.
Flow, yeah.
there's Flo who did a very good thing in Japan. There is who else?
There's ramen, of
Mm,
course.
Ramen.
Right, yeah,
Ramen.
Ramin, very good.
Space.
Space. I have special shoutouts to Ramin because every time I play him before a tournament, I do good
Yeah.
because Chic is so hard. I know it's hard for a lot of characters and it's very, very hard for Wario. So I have to be so good in specific situation that force me. And this type of situation, if I play them optimally against Chic, and this would be my normal way to play, it will also be good in a lot of matchups. So I like playing him a lot before tournaments. There's also Rare Cure, of course. Same.
Oh yeah.
As Wario, if he touch me, I'm dead. Of course, I need to play good against him to win. So yeah, there's a lot of people now that can force me to play well. I have in my head, I have names, and I'm like, okay, if I wanna get back in shape, I need to play them. The sad thing is they don't live next to me, and the Wi-Fi is trash. But still, when I have them in tournament, I specifically go play with them, even if maybe they don't know. I do it specifically because I know they will form me, because I need to play well to beat them, and it removes my bad habits and stuff. Otherwise, I get destroyed, or at least they beat me. So yeah, that's a very, very good feeling to have. Like before, it was maybe one player, and even sometimes in friendlies they play so bad. So I'm like, that's useless. It doesn't make me better. But now I know who to play with to make myself better, and not only matchups. Because before, the state was like, okay, they become good enough for me to work on some matchup if I don't know the matchup at all. But if I know the matchup, even if he's good, he's not good enough to make me better or stay in shape as a player. But now they could make me better as a player. For example, Raflo, Vakio, Mr. R, as I said, there's others. But yeah, that's very, very good feeling. And I just wish Wi-Fi was better, and I could play with them too. But for no reason, if you play with the UK people, even if it's 300 kilometers from my house, it's not playable. But anyways, I try to play them in majors before the tournament, and it helps a lot. And I like this feeling a lot. Even if it makes the game harder, I prefer this way by far.
So this is more addressed to both of you, but what are you doing to prepare differently for Watch the Throne as it's coming up versus how you prepared for Port Priority?
First, jet lag, because West Coast is always very, very hard for me. 9 hours is too much. I know I come on Wednesday, so it will help me get used to the jet lag. Also, I will try to change my sleep schedule and maybe go sleep at 4 a.m. every day before I go
That's
to
smart.
US.
Oh, yeah, like a preemptive. I see.
Yeah, it's weird because if I do this, then it's harder to leave during the day. But I'll try because it's the last tournament of the year, and it's very, very important, and it's a good big invitational. And I have nothing. I'm resting for now, so I can prepare for this event. So that's one part, and the other part will be to first we know who's coming, and that's very good because if you know who's coming, you know who you can potentially play. So the first thing will be, okay, I check everyone who comes. Is there someone in Europe I can play on Wi-Fi that could help me get better in the matchup? If there is, I go play with them. If there's not, I will watch VODs. For example, like I did against Big D. So I didn't play against any Ice Climber during between Summit and now, but I watched the VOD, and we watched, of course, with Donny and Snorely. We talked about it, and we thought about a lot of things about the matchup, what I did bad, what I should do instead, take care about what, how Wario could win this matchup. And I think I did so many games in my head against Ice Climber. And then before my game, against Big D, I found Sonix playing against Ice Climber to prepare himself for Big D. And I was like, hey, let me play after Sonix.
The line just starts forming. Like,
Yeah,
He'll be
and
there
then,
too, by the way. That's his
yes.
region. Yeah.
So
Wait, Sonix or the Iceland?
Yes, they'll both be
the Ice
there.
Climber.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
So that was so good. Oh, you know who I was talking about?
Yes. Exactly.
Oh, okay. Wow.
I forget
How?
his name off the top of my head. It's SoCal Ice Climber player.
Okay.
I forget his tag. I apologize if he's watching this, but yeah, he is a very solid ice climbers player. One of the best in the honestly in the planet, but underrated ice climber player.
And it helped me a lot because everything we talk about, I tried it, and of course I asked him question about some specific stuff, and it helped a lot because I was ready for Big D and I won. So yeah, I will do the same thing, like theoretical practice, maybe try to find ones in Europe and stuff, and then it would be the best way to prepare for Watch the Throne.
yeah, we got a pretty good amount of European representation, huh? We got you, Bloom, and Tarek. So
Tarek,
yeah, it's gonna be fun.
that's good.
Oh, I forgot I was asked that too. For me, I guess in order to try to help him to prepare for it, a lot of the times when we prepare for certain like sets coming up, we'll prepare for like matchups a lot more than players. I mean, we started doing players a lot more recently because I realized that when Tony did that, when I think on a big Gluto back then, and then when Mute was beating specific people, I realized that like there's just as much, I guess, potency in like learning the players just as much as the matchup, because players do have specific habit of their own when you put them in a certain situation, whether it's like tweak looking for center stage with a high monkey flip in specific corner situation, or Spargo not wanting to get edge guard and doing regular get him to roll in or something like that, you know? So like one thing, like he said, since we know exactly who's gonna be there at Watch the Throne, there's only these 16 players. I'm already preemptively watching sets like of all these players ahead of time. So I could look for like these like 2 or 3 things that like Wario could like take advantage of once you put them in those specific situations over and over. So it could help Gluto get an advantage because I do know once he gets that one opening, he'll advantage state his way to like another clipping moment. So it's just finding those openings. So I'll say like review more VODs for the specific players that will be there. That's what I've been doing a lot lately. So
Very nice.
All right, Ramses, did you have any closing words on just the EU scene?
Dude, we used to suck so much.
used to? My bad. I'm joking.
All right, you're on the come
All
up.
right. Okay, holy.
I'm joking.
I beat
I'm just
Sky
kidding.
J. I'm gonna hold on to that win forever.
Good win. Good win.
I'm just saying all finals are all European finals with the best from Mexico and T, of course, the best player in Europe in visitation.
Yeah, dude, we're the kings of Europe again.
I think this
Good
is actually
shit, Gluto.
wait, actually this is more of a question. Is this the first European tournament that T has attended and not won? Or at least made the grands?
Yeah,
I think for
so,
T and Leo, that is the case.
Yeah.
Leo has won every
T lost
major.
one to shoot on before, but it was to another foreigner.
Right. No, dude. In Brawl, I think the thing about competitive games is that like the longer a game goes on, the more important theory is. And something that always frustrated me about Europe is that because we were like lagging behind in developments, there was never a lot of attention for theory. Like in Brawl, in Smash 4, it was just never a necessity to win here. And I think we're finally reaching a part where more players are incorporating theory into their gameplay. I think especially like if you look at our flow, his recent improvement has been insane. And I don't know if you agree, Gluto, but if I look at our flow from like half a year ago, even there were so many things that were just like so instinctual that were, well, not great at like a top level. And I think if I look at our flow now, the way he has just like integrated solutions to that, become more well-rounded. I think that really shows a stronger like theoretical fundamental basis. That, and I think Echo, is it Echo the name of his coach, right? Yeah.
Coach.
I think the influence there is also pretty strong. So I'm really happy about that within Europe as a whole. And the issue for Europe has always been experience, in my opinion. If you look at, like, for example, Smash 4, I remember like S1, who used to be like a top European player, went to the US, and I think it was like his second time there, and he went like game 5 with Captain Zach. And you don't hear stuff like that because he doesn't win. And even if he does, like, there's a next major next week, and these players can try again. And I think that is like the biggest difference. It's like, in these clutch moments, how well do you perform? Do you know the matchups? Can you make these deep runs? And now that France is stepping it up so much with their, well, everything, honestly, there's finally more experience. And while Gluto, like Gluto said, it's not top level experience, and it isn't always relevant to beat the best players in the world, what it does do is it sets our players up to at least make it to the best in the world. And if they can consistently make it to the best in the world, then they get the actual experience that they need. And I think that's just amazing. And I'm very happy to I'm just very happy to see that, because on just like on a game feel level, on an intuitive level, on a fundamental level, I think we always have had strong players, but now that we also have the experience to back it up, we are a way more well-rounded region. And it's just a pleasure to see. And honestly, France really carrying the continent with their tournaments, production value, players' passion. Something that I think is really awesome about France is just the passion. Like, you have, like, I was talking about this backstage at UFA with Fauster and TPK. I said the biggest, not the biggest, one of the biggest differences in terms of passion between France and the rest of Europe is that France has celebrity culture, which I think the US has as well, right? Like, celebrity culture. And so, like, the players will look up to top level players and be like, I want to be like that. I want to get a sponsor. I want to make a living off of that. And they really look up to that. Whereas if you look at, for example, the Netherlands, I cannot really talk about other countries. I don't live there. It's way more like, let's say, down to earth. It's like stay in your lane, just be normal, don't do anything weird. And so people don't have that passion to reach the top because they don't see themselves as being able to do that. But in France, you play a round 1, your round 1 is out for blood. Like, they want to beat you, they want to prove themselves. And I think, like, having so many people want that really creates an amazing atmosphere for competition. And I wouldn't be surprised if France over time, like, is gonna overtake maybe even the US in terms of how strong the region is, because it's especially Paris, just so easy to travel, so many events, a solid player base. I think there's a lot of potential brewing, and I'm really excited for the future. So huge shout outs, honestly. And I'm happy to be taken along for the ride. I just take a train to France, and I'm just like, je parle français, petit peu.
You got it. See,
That's it. Yeah.
All right. Well,
I wish what you said will be true. I wish.
I hope. I was saying there's
hope.
potential there. There's potential there.
The next Smash game.
I think so,
maybe.
for real. I think next Smash game can be really, really huge.
Kind of be around the corner, right? I mean,
Smash
about to be
Ultimate
5
Deluxe.
years old. Ultimate's about to be 5 years old, right? This it's actually going to be 5 years old during Watch the Throne. I think on like either the Friday or the Saturday. So
True.
This is
might-
already a
it's
more
actually-
developed game than Smash 4.
It's
Yeah.
on the Thursday because it's on my birthday.
Oh, on the Thursday, dang it. Yeah, maybe we'll make
That's
a cake
alright.
for Smash Ultimate, or I don't know.
Make
That'd
sure
be
everybody
dope.
leave Happy Birthday Ramses in the comments.
There you
Oh
go.
my god.
You have the same birthday as Ultimate. That's crazy.
Yeah, Ultimate came out on my
Wow.
birthday.
All right, well, we've been going for quite some time, so that's going to be it for this episode. Thank you guys so much for sticking around. If you guys enjoyed the content, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. And if you guys want to ask us direct questions that we'll answer on the podcast, you can subscribe to our Discord. But until next time, class dismissed.